Hello! Yes, you read the title right. I have successfully conjured a video idea that will surely go viral this time. I have attained the coveted #1 spot in the only collection that requires teamwork between players, so I know it won't really be that accessible to my audience who mostly doesn't have any friends. Do not fret though, you only get your rates decreased by 40% as punishment from the game for being an antisocial degenerate. Now, I've always dreamed that if a new mining collection were to release, I would surely go for the top spot. Never did I— Wait, what's that? Not a mining collection? A rift collection? Anyways, if I may continue, never did I imagine that this new collection would take place in an entirely different dimension, the newly instated Rift, which did make me want to push my head firmly through the walls of my house, but I persevered and eventually arrived at the point where the real masochism would take place, which was actually mining. So, with the release of the all-new and expansive Rift update, many players seeking to torture themselves with the pain of collecting bottled Odonatas rushed in. This included me, but I wasn't really after anything special. I just wanted the new necklace for the 3 more mining fortune it yielded over a base epic necklace. This promptly retired my speed 10 molten necklace, of which I spent like 500 mil on, so I went back to the overworld in tears. Then, one of my friends decided it was a great idea to kick me while I was down, and announced that there is a new mining-related collection in the Rift called Living Metal Hearts, and that I would have to grind the rest of the update to be able to do it efficiently. So, like any normal person would, I immediately punched a hole through my wall and got to grinding. Luckily for me, the Rift isn't quite as expansive as the overworld, so there wasn't nearly as much content for me to get through to be essentially maxed for it. The one stat I needed to get as high as possible was my rift time, which is the sole determinator of how long it takes me to, apparently, explode into 1,000,000 pieces. The bad thing about this is that it required me to basically complete the whole rift update, which I had absolutely no intention of doing about 10 minutes prior. So I promptly got to work trudging through the rift. I'd like to add something before I continue, and it's that you all are unbelievably stupid. The amount of people I saw asking how to play the game was astounding, considering the fact that I ended up learning everything I needed to from the Rift guide and the wiki. The admins finally decided to make an intuitive update, and half of their player base is too brain dead to even register such a concept. So, wiki.hypixel.net guys, get to reading. Anyways, with the help of the Rift guide, I made my way through the all-new mechanics of the Rift, talking to NPCs who were literally cracked out of their minds, and experiencing riveting political commentary while meeting and murdering cross-dimensional beings. I normally hate the lore of Skyblock, but I think the Rift did it really well by not taking it seriously at all. So, my initial plan was to get around 50 minutes of Rift time, and then actually start grinding Living Metal Hearts. However, upon reaching this milestone, my lust for good-looking armor was not yet satiated, and I continued. I mean, can you blame me? Look at this! So, I set out to get the max armor, which took a while. I ended up starting the actual collection a whole day later than I planned because I was stuck collecting blood badges for this stupid chestplate that looks really cool. At least in the end, I got a good-looking armor set in 55 minutes of Rift time. What did it cost? Like 30 hours of my life and delaying starting the collection grind, which you'll see why that's important later. With all that out of the way, I could finally start grinding. The 2 items you need for this are the self-recursive pickaxe and the frozen water pungai. By the way, if you like the custom textures I've made for these items, I'm actually working at a huge Mining Central texture pack related to my theming of ice, and if you'd like to see that released, then I'd love if you subscribed, as I'm likely going to release it at 30,000 subscribers to give me time to finish it. Anyways, back to the video. The pungai will stun the snake for about a second, and the pickaxe just allows you to mine it. The intended mechanic was that you had to have someone else stun the snake for you, but you can just do both actions yourself, proving that Skyblock players would do anything to avoid interaction with other people. It takes like 5 minutes to get used to, but you can get it down pretty easily. Doing it the anti-social way is called soloing, and is about 40% less efficient than doing it with somebody else that possesses a brain. Sadly, a lot of the people in the Living Cave do not really meet this requirement, and I'd find myself quite often telling people who were desperately trying to be my stunner to leave, because they were just bad. I'll get back to why being a skillful duo matters in a bit, but for now I'm going to talk about the fact that these Satan orbs are the most infuriating mob ever. You have to mine them from the tail to the head, which is at least identifiable by a lapis block, but you have to guess where the tail is a lot of the time. I really wish the admins would add some kind of upgrade to the pickaxe that gives particles to the tail, but oh well. Luckily, throughout my journey with these snakes, I learned a lot about how to circumvent their seemingly unavoidable downsides. When you first start mining, guessing where the tail is can make you want to defenestrate your monitor, but luckily for you, the only way of knowing where it is to memorize the movement patterns of the snakes in different areas. At least the patterns are pretty easy to learn with experience, and I'm showing the two that are generally the most useful on screen right now. As you mine more and more, you'll notice that you just have a better instinct as to where to start mining. Oh yeah, and this is the best place to look for the snakes with the coords on screen. The other major gripe I have with the snakes is that they can just go under slabs, making certain blocks of their tails inaccessible. This can seem unavoidable at first, and I've seen many people be quick to claim that it's just RNG, but I'm happy to tell you that it's a skill issue and you can now memorize more nuances of the most annoying collection ever invented. Anyways, if you're a solo, just try to avoid snakes that are under slabs and wait until they aren't. If you are stunning a snake that just happens to be under a slab, then what you can do is move your cursor one block in front of the head of the snake, or two, depending on how many blocks are under slabs, then wait for it to just run into your cursor again. This is called pre-firing the snake. In some cases, if you know how the snakes move, which again comes with experience, then you'll already know where it's most likely to go and you can just rest your cursor on that block. However, if for whatever reason you aren't sure where it'll go, then just cover 3 to 4 blocks with your cursor. Since the snake gets stunned instantly, you're still most likely going to catch it. This rule is the same for people who are specifically stunning in a duo, but the recognition works a little bit differently. Since as a stunner you'll be more focused around the head of the snake and occupied with something I'll talk about shortly after this, you'll often not see if a snake is under a slab. So the miner of the duo should have a SkyTills keybind set to /PC slab, which just notifies their partner of a slab. If you're too concentrated to focus on the chat, then you could set a notification with some mod to tell you that somebody has just said slab in the chat. When the miner sees that they are unable to mine a block due to it being under a slab, they press the keybind and then simply wait for the stunner to adjust. In a lot of cases, a skilled stunner will have already noticed the issue with the slab or have seen the miner struggling, in which case they may not even need the notification, but it's still a great system to have. Finally, for the stunner, you actually want to stun 2 snakes at a time in order to be efficient. This is the main thing that makes duo mining better than solo. Because you can stun snakes nearly instantly, and they stay stunned for a few seconds, you can easily just swap between the heads of the 2 snakes. You'll also want to always be on the head of the snake anyways, so you don't accidentally have it slip away from you if the miner mines a block. If swapping between the 2 heads is too hard, then you could just swap between the head of the snake that the miner is mining and any block of the second snake, since those won't disappear. One niche thing is that while you're soloing, you can actually mine 2 blocks at a time before the snake unfreezes, but this really isn't a viable strategy as it's super inconsistent. I just don't want people nagging me about it in the comments. Anyways, that is all of the knowledge I have accrued and graciously compiled for you, so let's get back to where I was in terms of collection grinding. When I started, I didn't really have any competition at all, and I actually got to number 1 really easily at only 2,000 collection, but I knew I wanted to go higher, so I set myself a goal of 10,000 collection and the number 1 spot for this video. However, it wouldn't all be smooth sailing. At around 4,000 collection, I woke up to see that I had actually been passed by someone who previously had been pretty non-threatening. This person's name is Zenimar, and he would prove to be quite the obstacle for my number 1 conquest. Now, the reason that Zenimar was doing Living Metal Hearts was because they actually make quite good money. As of the time of writing this script, it's around 31.5 million coins an hour with a good duo, and for a method that requires no setup and is ridiculously easy to get into, that is insane. By the end of my 10,000 collection, I ended up profiting 1.4 billion coins, which for the time I put in is insane. I thought that because he was doing this for money, he would soon stop being my competition since the method would die and he would stop doing it since it wasn't worth it. I was wrong. It's a really obvious method for money, but somehow the Skyblock player base failed to find and popularize it, so I guess I should be glad that stereotypical money-making method YouTubers are pretty stupid. There were a few bad guides by small YouTubers and a feature in a Swavy video, but nothing else really. So, me and Zenimar decided that we would race to 10,000 collection, as that was where I wanted to stop. Now, Zenimar had actual stuff to do, like work, while I was just chilling with my summer break, so his solution was to simply not sleep. There really isn't much to say about the rest of the race because this method really isn't all that intricate, but it did get ridiculously close around the last day. For that whole day, I was taking as little downtime as I possibly could, and I eventually ended up getting to 10,000 first by about only 300 collection. For the last 60, I actually duoed with him, so here's that clip now. Okay. Wait, that was under a slab.
Do you want to do something special for this last one?
I don't know how you do that. Like, what would we do?
I really don't know.
Okay, just stun this one and I'll mine it, I guess.
Okay.
Alright.
Yay.
And that is 10,000. GG's.
GG indeed.
Ugh. That was crazy.
I was about 4 stacks off.
Oh. I didn't even auction any. I just went and stored them in a backpack because I didn't want to downtime at all. Well, I think that about does it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you whenever I decide to upload again.